Hey, welcome to Breaking Bread, hosted by me, Kronk Chocolate, a show where we break verbal bread with a quote-unquote enemy. Whenever Manchester City has an upcoming match, I will be here having a conversation with a supporter of City's upcoming opponents. Shout out to all the Patreon members who will be enjoying this full episode. You too can enjoy this full episode if you are only watching the 15 minutes on YouTube or listening to the 15 minutes on a podcasting app. For $6 a month, you can get amazing episodes like the one you're about to listen to for about 14 and a half more minutes. We host match previews for Manchester City men and women. And for people who just aren't only city based, you like all these other teams around the world, even in the Premier League, that I guess I'm all right with that. We have a interview series called Chopping It Up, where we bring on most dope people who write, support, love. We've had U.S. MT players on. We've had lots of writers who cover all the leagues. I actually shout out to Senti Boaza, about to have him on very soon and talk some Argentinian football. We have a lot of fun on our Patreon. Come check it out. Just recently dropped an episode with Jack Gaughan of the Daily Mail, who just had an exclusive interview with Bernardo Silva dropped the other day. We bring him on every 2 or 3 months, and we chat some good stuff. So if you missed that episode, check the 15 minutes that's available on. Just scroll back to our previous episodes. I believe it's 2 of them, and we're right there. Today, we have a great episode for you, Shady Gay. Manchester City start their campaign towards another Premier League title, and it begins at Molineux Stadium. To find out a little bit more about Wolverhampton, we have one member of a whole lot of Wolves, Baltimore. Stand up. Give it up for Danny. How are you?
Thanks for that introduction, Kronk. It's so great to be here. It feels like in a weird way this is a long time coming, because we've sort of circled each other on social media for a while. I've watched some of your stuff and it just never worked out, and I'm so glad it finally did.
Yes, always. I tell people all the time, it's just hey, life happens. I will keep reaching out. So if you are saying you can't come on, just trying to do that nice thing where you turn me down politely, I'm just gonna keep asking you. So you just need to tell me you're not interested in coming on our pod. And it really is I'm never offended by any of that stuff. People have lives, interests.
And a couple things, I decided I'd try to blend in, wear the blue retro kit here.
What a guy.
And then also, to bring it back the other way, I want to tell you what I'm giving up to be here. For this child of the 80s, growing up, in the 2000s in high school, just around the block from me, the brewery that I go to very frequently after a win, right now, tonight,
Afro-Man
is there.
I believe Afro-Man will be here in a few months, actually. So, hey, if you want to come check out the Midwest, I can show you a good time.
You should get him on the pod.
Oh, my gosh. Goodness. Well, we're going to have a wonderful conversation about Wolverhampton. We'll start off with finding a little bit about you and your relationship with Wolverhampton. Then we'll talk transfers, manager, have you pick out some key contributors who can make the game difficult for us, starting 11, and then we'll end with a score prediction. Easy. First off, let's get to know a little bit more about you, Danny. What is something you love about the club? Maybe there's something you want to boast about the club. Is there maybe a little known fact that people aren't aware of about the club? This is just your time to, just hit me with all of the Wolves propaganda.
I'll try. Yeah, I guess, going back a bit, I was sort of like a lap soccer fan. I played soccer through my whole life. I grew up, outside of DC. in Prince George's County. People from around here will know what that means. It's an extremely diverse area outside of the nation's capital. I played on a soccer team when I was a kid that was like half my town, which was majority white, and half the town that's next to it that was majority Hispanic. And it was just like from that moment, like the kind of like cross-cultural pollination was something that I really loved. And I was going to DC United games, and you learn really quickly. You don't go get the hot dog or the cheeseburger, because that stuff is usually really expensive if you go to the pupusa stand, because I think it was like $3 for 2 pupusas or something. Oh, yeah. So that's where I was coming from. And then, sort of drifted away from soccer when I was in college. And honestly, most professional sports just because it's too damn expensive to go to games. And then after college, I was living with a friend who was a diehard Southampton fan of all things. And I watched a bunch of Premier League with him and started getting back into it. And then he went away to vet school. And I was like, I want to keep watching the Premier League, but I don't feel like I have a team. And Southampton didn't quite grab me, which now I've been told, Southampton is the least grab you team that there might be out there. So, especially in that era where they were sort of like post being rated by Liverpool. And so anyway, that next season was the season that Wolves were promoted. I'd sort of already heard of them, from their time in the championship. They obviously had like a huge record-breaking season to get up into the Premier League. And then I just sort of I watched the Premier League trying to keep an open mind. I had a few ideas about teams that I would be interested in. And Wolves were the ones that finally did grab me. And I mean, it's no wonder, because that season was sort of magical. It's becoming increasingly rare, but even then it was rare for a team to get promoted and immediately finish 7th and qualify for the Europa League. And so that whole campaign was kind of crazy, where I think, especially early on, they looked like a promoted team where they would have really inconsistent results. And then just as time went on, kept getting these results that people weren't expecting. And probably the game that sucked me in was, a 7:30 a.m. game here on the East Coast that was against Leicester, who at the time were, have to remind ourselves, we're still riding high off of, having won the Premier League not that long ago. And Wolves won 4-3, and it was like Diogo Jota hat trick. It was just, I know. And it was just like, it was one of those magical times where I woke up not even thinking like Wolves are my team, but then you watch this and the drama unfold, and Nuno, who is this, weird warrior monk, on the sidelines, and comes out onto the field to congratulate Jota after he scores the 3rd goal, and then of course has to be sent off and whatever. just the whole drama of it, it had to be in that moment. And that's where I started. I think as I've come to know the club more and the fans more, I think it's kind of no surprise that it sort of struck a chord with me. The parallels between Wolverhampton and Baltimore aren't, super deep, but they're working class towns that had a big past during, the Industrial Revolution, and have been, you could say, down on their luck since in various ways. And also, I've always come from very diverse areas, like the area outside of DC, and now where I live in Baltimore is extremely diverse, and so is Wolverhampton. And so whenever, I would be watching fan channels or fan groups or, people out and about after the games, those are areas and groups of people that resonated with me from where I grew up. So that's sort of my backstory with the club and what attracted me to them.
I love that though. Well, Wolves, man. So first off, I want to say shout out to your friend who became a vet. Maybe they had a little you're like, I want to pick a club. Wolves, animal, friend left me to be a vet. Maybe that
that's right. I never thought about that.
That was a really fun year for there's I'm trying to decide how honest I want to be. The Wolves is a team that, because they started so bright and they've had some like really rough moments. If there's a top 5 clubs I probably make fun of the most, Wolves, they're in there. They're in the top 5. They could honestly be like second or third. I make fun of them a lot, and I get on them a lot. But they really have brought some amazing players into the league. Like, they'll start there and then go do some great things elsewhere. And I always wondered, like, how long can you continue to find that? Because they were doing all that stuff before it was cool. Like, they were finding like these like little gems from these randomly, and they come in, and you're like, who is this person? And it's like, oh, whoa, they're a baller. Okay, cool. So now that's kind of like the MO. That's like Brighton's thing and things. So Wolves were ahead of the I was gonna say the fad, but my brain kept saying fade. Fad early. So I mean, shout out to them. But yeah, I am a little rough on them. So
I can understand why. We've given you some tough games in the past.
I'll let you have that. I said a bunch of not nice things about your club, so that's fair. And that's exactly how you're supposed to talk about your club. Go for it. So transfers. Let's talk about some of the moves that Wolverhampton has made. Obviously, shout out. They appreciate you for bringing us one of our Ryans. We went from having no Ryans to having Ryan Nori and Ryan Shirky. So that's fun. And Cunha. So I guess I didn't put 2 and 2 together that you guys just fed Manchester, the city of Manchester.
Yeah. No, I mean, before I get into transfers, what do you think of that? And I'm curious about both of the sides of that. What do you think about Ryan Nori so far? And what do you think about Cunha going to Manchester United so far? And yes, I've loaded that question heavily.
No, that's fine. No, Nori, I am a big fan of him. I understand what he can do. Whenever we have like new players kind of come on, I like doing a quick like synopsis of them, and I try to use stats. Obviously, my eyes know things, but I try to use numbers to back up what I say about people. And his distribution is great, and that's something that we definitely will need. But he takes a lot of chances, and that worries me. But also, you got to break some eggs sometimes. So, like, and last year, a big fault of the team was we were so cookie cutter. Like, it was like you knew exactly where they were going to go, what was going to happen. So if you have someone who can throw in some chaos, I appreciate that. Him and Doku can have a lot of fun overlapping and underlapping each other. And it'll just be and we saw him be really good when there were counters, having his speed. He isn't afraid of getting stuck in. Like, how successful is he in that? That's here nor there. But he isn't afraid of getting in there and making a mess. I do miss his hair, so that kind of like upsets me.
He goes back and forth all the time. He will be beard, no beard, long hair, short hair. He'll go through several iterations during the whole season, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I think he's going to be good at addition. Cunha, I'm actually not sold on at all. So the fact that he was going to United for like 70 mil, I was like, of course. Like, yes, he's great, but like, so João Pedro and Cunha, I see them very similar, where they are personalities.
Yes.
But they bag goals. João Pedro feels more like a sure shot compared to Cunha, and it's not just because of the clubs that they go. It's just, I don't know. Cunha, his problem is himself, where João Pedro, as long as he's playing, he's happy. Where Cunha can just get pissed off because some dude like blew in his ear, and then he kicks him in the back and gets sent off.
Yeah. I mean, I'll talk about both of those, and then that'll get us into transfers for us, because obviously they were our 2 big sales. So first of all, I'm on the same page. It's not that I'm not sold on Cunha. I'm completely sold. He's a great player, and he's, unique in a way that he can create stuff out of nothing. But at the same time, he's a celebrity and he wants to be a celebrity. And we struggled with that. And I think that at least for a team where Wolves are, which you could argue is also the space where Manchester United are currently occupying, I don't think that we could afford to have a player who was so streaky. You know, he would spend games, you know, sort of barely involved in walking. He would obviously spend games not involved at all because he got himself suspended. And if you're a team that is potentially flirting with relegation, you can't have one of your stars potentially be out for 6 to 8 games of the 38 game season. That's just not viable. So I did say several months ago, actually on the podcast that we were both on Monday, that